I wanted to do some exploratory research and really make sure that I understood. So what did I do? The first thing I did is I tried to find out whether the students were interested in helping me. So I spoke to the students very honestly and told them that I'm their teacher. I'm always trying to improve myself. And although there were aspects of the oral presentations that I thought had gone very well, there were aspects that I didn't feel so happy about. And I wanted to think about how I taught presentations to see if I could help them do better presentations. And would they be interested in trying to help me improve? They were absolutely delighted. They were charming. They were like, of course we would love to. So I suggested that we did a free write. They were fine with that. So what I did is I basically gave them all some paper, set aside 45 minutes of a class, and told them that they could write in French if they wanted to, and that the free write was anonymous. I started off by basically telling them how the presentations last semester, I've been really impressed with the subjects that they'd chosen, pertinent, interesting, but there are lots of things that I felt could be improved and that I didn't feel so happy with. And then basically, I went through all the reasons that I've explained in the slide before. I then said, okay, now I've given you my opinion, I'd really like to have your opinion. I'd like you to respond to what I've said to you. And on the board, I just wrote some key words about writing presentations on the board: preparation, structure, contents, being an audience, having an audience, lots of things like that. And I wrote the question: to what extent is the oral presentation experience worthwhile for me? So they all sat down, they started writing. I walked around and just tried to, from a yoga class, and tell them to basically really try to make the most of this opportunity. This is 45 minutes you've got just to reflect on your learning experience, your academic experience. You can write anything you want. It can be positive, negative. You won't be judged. Feel free. I told them that they could use the question as a starting point if they wanted to, but they could basically do what they wanted. And I was really, really impressed. They were so studious. They really took the activity on board. I really was quite impressed. It was really sweet. I took the papers home, I read them, and I did a thematic analysis. By that, I just mean that I looked for themes that reoccurred and just wrote them up, giving some details. And I translated the findings. And then the next phase was dissemination. So basically, here I am, talking the students through the themes that came up. Again, I was really surprised. The students, they were a completely captivated audience. They really wanted to find out not only what their friends had said about the oral presentations, but how I had portrayed what they had said, and also how I translated it. So it was really useful as a link, sort of, in terms of the contents, and also linguistically, because they were interested in the translations. And also, as we continued the project, this enabled me to give them terms and frames of reference. Richard had suggested to me in an email that one thing that I could do if I wanted to was a class project. And since the free write and the analysis had generated such enthusiasm, I thought, oh, it's a shame not to capitalise on this because the students are ready to go. So I said to the students, look, you've got one semester left. Basically, you've got to do a presentation again. If you want to, we could work together. We could do a class project and come up with a plan of action to make the experience as beneficial as possible for everybody. And I noticed they were looking at me and they were like, yeah, okay, we can do this. Why not? You want to work with us? And I was really, really happy about these dynamics. I was just like, okay, let's do this. So I put them into groups of 3 and asked them to come up to identify, out of all the thinking they've done in the free write, through the analysis, hearing about what the other students had said, to identify key points that they thought we needed to improve, and for each point, think of an improvement strategy. again, I couldn't believe that. They were working in a team, inclusive. All of the students were participating. They really were. This was their project. Once this had finished, I led a class discussion, and basically I just wrote down the key points on the board, and together we decided which improvement strategy we would use. And during the class discussion, I tried to shut my mouth and not interrupt too much, and really let the ideas emerge from the students. And this is the schedule we came up with. Okay, so that's the procedure. We came up with loads of points, or they came up with loads of points, and lots of different improvement strategies. I'm just going to talk you through a few of the key ones. Here are my students. The first thing was a freest subject. The students had appreciated that I'd given them relative freedom last semester, but they wanted more freedom. They explained that the more freedom they had, in terms of the more freedom and autonomy they had, the more motivated they were for the presentations, and the more that they could give the presentations with passion and feeling. So, in fact, the idea came from a communications class that they had. Basically, they wanted to keep the theme of culture, because what I'd asked them to do is look at culture, choose any culture they wanted to, and analyse it from a surface and deep levels. They wanted to keep the idea of culture, but they said, can we just take any take on culture that we want to? So if we want to, we can do what you suggested, but if we want to, we could look at, for example, the impact that technology has had on culture, or the culture of manga comics. Basically, they wanted to use their creativity. They pointed out that the presentations often fell during the exam period, and therefore they didn't have enough time to dedicate to the preparation as they needed to. So they asked me whether they could have some in-class time preparation. I was fine with that. They said that they really understood that doing oral presentations was useful for their future careers. So they could see the importance of why we wanted to do, why I'd asked them to do oral presentations. But they said that in order for them to really be motivated, they needed to have the presentation sort of simulate the real context, so they wanted to wear formal dress. Some of them also said that when they were listening to the presentations, they sometimes zoned out, or they found it difficult to follow because they couldn't understand difficult vocab. And again, during the class discussions, it came out that one of the students at high school, in the oral presentations, had to identify difficult words and think of creative ways of teaching the difficult words. So this could be distribute a handout, or integrate the difficult words into a PowerPoint, or come up with a puzzle. And so they wanted each pair to teach the difficult words.